Welcome back to the Breaker Broz, and tonight we're going to go over the Bengals versus Detroit game and then go over our predictions for the Ravens game. But I guess starting off with Detroit, it seems like we handled business, and it seemed kind of rocky at first, but I think overall we did what we needed to do, and it seemed like we had a pretty convincing win. How'd you feel about the game?
Yeah, I mean, no surprises from me. I expected the Bengals to win big, and they did. So, I mean, I was almost of the mindset that if they didn't win by 20 or more points, that there was going to be an issue with the team overall. So, good on them for handling business.
Yeah, it seemed like a lot of people thought it was going to be at least competitive. I was kind of worried at first because it seemed like we had a slow start, at least within the first half. But like I guess we were up by 10, but it felt like we could have been up like by four touchdowns. But I mean, by the end of the game, I thought it was kind of funny that we put our second string in. I thought that was kind of bold, and then they actually scored on their first string.
On the Bengals second team. So, weird part is that they left their first stringers in against the Bengals second string.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell they were just desperate to score at that point. The only thing, I mean, I get it. I guess we were looking at bigger picture. We weren't trying to get any injuries before next week, but at the same time, it's like I was hoping we would go for the shutout. Like that's it's pretty tough to do nowadays, especially in today's NFL. I know you had extreme confidence going in, but I still think it's still pretty tough to win by a couple touchdowns in the NFL. I know sometimes it happens, or I guess it happens pretty frequently, but it's still pretty tough to do. But yeah, it was kind of comforting to know that it was never really close at any point. But I guess we're on to bigger and better things.
I think there's a difference between watching the Lions-Ravens game and then looking at the final score. I mean, that game came down to that record-setting field goal, but I mean, Marquise Brown dropped like wide open touchdown passes. Not to rip on Brown for anything. I'm just saying that the Ravens, on a normal day for Marquise Brown, would have won that game by 3 touchdowns, right? So you drop touchdowns like that, keep the Lions close. But I think that people read a lot into that close game, but I don't think that they were nearly as good as the score indicated. And just overall with the Lions, their team isn't built to compete this year. They do not have anybody on offense that scares you. Like their best receiver is a tight end, and he's not like a new school tight end, like a guy that gets over the top of the defense or anything. He's a really good but traditional tight end. He's a complementary guy. He blocks, he catches over the middle, but he's not gonna hurt the defense, right? He's not gonna score 40-yard touchdown and break down the defense all by himself. He's not Kyle Pitts, not Travis Kelce, right? He's a good player, but aside from Hawkinson, who else on that team can do anything to hurt a defense?
I don't know. I thought they had a pretty damn solid draft by getting Sewell. I mean, he made a big difference this past Sunday. I mean, you could just see why someone would value a lineman over a receiver,
Yeah, I don't want to rag on Sewell. I think he's going to be a good player. I mean, my, at least what I think I said when we argued about it or were talking about it, check out the draft episodes of Breaker Broz. We have some Sewell versus Chase analysis. But to me, the ultimate thing is that you already have your quarterback as the Bengals. You have Joe Burrow. He's ready to go this year, right? We have Jonah Williams, who's a good player this year. It's hard to draft a lineman who's as good as Jonah Williams year one, right? Maybe Sewell will be better than Jonah Williams in 3-4 years, but for the Bengals, the time is now. And it made sense to me to get a receiver because a receiver would help this team a lot more than a lineman because they had a left tackle and you're not going to use a number 5 pick to pick a guard. So unless you're the Arizona Cardinals. 5 years ago, now they're good. Now they wouldn't do it. But Jonathan Cooper, I think it was like the 4th pick. But that did not work out well either. But I mean, for the Bengals, Jamar Chase is way better than I thought he was going to be. I mean, I think you were high on Chase from the get go. So, he's basically statistically, not build or skill like Randy Moss, but impact on the offense. He's Randy Moss 2.0 so far, and it's like a home run of a draft pick. The problems with their offensive line are not a tackle. So I think they did well in getting Chase, but I think Sewell will be good. But I still think he's got another year or two before he surpasses Jonah Williams. So time is now.
Yeah, and I agree. I don't think Sewell's going to be bad by any chance, but I think this past game kind of shows that why you would take a receiver, because all things equal, if you get a solid lineman, you can never really go wrong with that. If you get an above average lineman, which I think he will be, but it goes to show that like when you get those big plays, Jamar Chase could have had like a 70-yard touchdown. He was really close to. If the ball was a little bit more on stride, or if he was more aware of where the defender was, he would have scored a 70-yard touchdown. And it's just like, it's kind of like I'm waiting for like, it seems like every week he has a big play. It's just weird. It's like, and it's almost coming to the point where I expect it, and I don't want to become that because that's not natural. You shouldn't. There's not always going to be a big play, and we have enough receivers to have a big play between all of them, but he does it anyways. But it just goes to show, like, as soon as you put one-on-one with him, he's going to expose the defense. And it like his stats on like when they actually do one-on-one are insane. Like I think he's got like a perfect QB rating when he's learned to. I guess Burrow has a perfect QB rating when they're one-on-one. That's why you can't do it. That's why when we get into the Baltimore game. What's that?
That's the thing before the draft, though. You were saying that like that's the advantage of having Chase coming in with having worked with Burrow for a few years. Like they have that rapport to hit those big plays, right?
Right. Yeah. No. And it's weird because it's everything I expected, and it's just weird because it's actually happening. It's like we're so used to the Bengals messing things up, and it's going right, and we're like, it's been forever since. I just want to stop talking about it because like we don't do this well with the first round pick ever.
But the point being that I don't think the Bengals. I think the Bengals made the right selection for their team. Building for.
There is one thing I want to say before we really start to get into Baltimore, but I just want to say like the Bengals made a lot of questionable decisions in the offseason, and it turned out to be perfect. Like I remember a lot of people were kind of like questioning the Hendrickson signing, and it's like a great signing. And then we pick up the cornerback from Dallas. I always mess up his name, but like a Woozy or whatever, but he's playing phenomenal. And it was like, that was a steal. Yeah. And I remember thinking, like, why didn't we get like a better, like there were bigger names in the offseason that I thought we could get. And we went with that guy. And that seems to be like a steal. And it's just crazy. And it's just like, it just goes to show like, wow, maybe they actually did know what they're doing. And then a lot of their draft picks that they picked last year are performing well this year. And it's just like when you go back to just starting from their draft last year through this year, like they've killed it. Just the last couple off seasons, they really have. It's just weird being in this position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wouldn't go perfect. I was a little worried that they didn't pick Sam Cosmi. That was the guy I wanted them to pick in the second round.
That would have been a solid pick. You can't be 100% perfect. But what I'm saying is like, just look at their drafts. The last couple of drafts is just like they drafted it pretty well, and they've picked up the right people in the offseason. Now, I'm all for converting like the Trey Wayne's contract into Bates. I don't know how. I guess you can't really do that. I think the only way we get rid of him if we actually trade him.
You get like a wood chipper and just throw that contract in there, and it comes out.
I wish we could. I wish we could go back in time. I bet they would do that in a heartbeat. I think the only way you get rid of his contract is by trade. I think he's like in Bengals terms, he's
No, you
uncuttable.
can probably cut him, right? Can't you cut
No,
him?
because I think he because when Bengals sign 3-year contracts, it's a 3-year contract. Like they don't unless you're really
Yeah, but
horrible, they're
this
not.
is his second, right?
Yeah, so we would have to keep him at least one
Usually,
more
if it's a
year.
3, how can you cut him at the end of this year, right?
I guess maybe it's possible. It's possible, but it's just like it. I guess what I'm saying, like maybe if we could trade him, that would be the best way. But
Ye
I guess the way I'm saying is like I feel like I think the last time I looked at his contract, like I think we still owe him $8 million, and the Bengals don't cut
Mhm.
people if they owe him $8 million. I mean that's just the way it is. Like
Yeah.
so it's
He
just
contribute this year, though. But that's the thing, though. I mean, you gotta think about, I mean, this is a historically long season, right? 17 games plus. Right now, the Bengals are in playoff contention.
and
You know,
he's actually
he may
a luxury that it's worth keeping right now because like you could always use cornerback depth. At the very least, he's at least maybe slightly above average corner, and that works long term. So like for now, it's fine. It just sucks that like
yeah. Well,
next year.
but you remember my other off-season theory, right? When negative Nancy was coming out, right?
Mm.
Is the, the Bengals potentially do not have the best medical staff because it seems like our dudes, when they get hurt, they stay hurt. Um, so maybe that's rearing its ugly head. I don't know.
I mean, you could say
Just
that,
a hunch.
but at the same time, we are like again, I don't want to jinx this. We're pretty in terms of healthy. We're really healthy. I mean, like, compared to like the Ravens. I mean, I think the Ravens had like 12 people go on
Yeah,
IR, and we were like, I mean,
that's
we have a
true.
few people
The
that go
Ravens
AR,
must
but
be
they're
some
not
kind
like
of
hurt.
the Ravens must be doing some kind of like avant-garde kind of calf exercises because they're blowing out Achilles like it's like nobody's business.
Yeah, yeah, no, but the Ravens just have phenomenal coaching. I mean, that's just it seems like they always kind of go through some type of adversity with injuries, and they always seem to overcome it. And it definitely has a lot to do
Yeah.
with
So we're gonna talk
Harbaugh.
Ravens now.
Yeah, let's do it. I actually, when it comes to Ravens, I think this might actually be the Green Bay game that I was expecting, where it's just going to be like just a shootout, basically. I feel like it's going to be a
Hmm.
really high scoring game because I think the Ravens are going to test the Bengals. I think they're actually going to see if they can do a one-on-one with Chase, and I think that's only going to last so long. But traditionally, I do
Hmm.
think the Bengals play really well against the Ravens, and we always seem to torch their defense when we have dynamic receivers. It just seemed like the last couple of years, AJ Green wasn't AJ Green, but um, with the way Jamar Chase is playing, I feel like this could be the game where both teams are actually in the 30s, and it's just who's going to have the ball again last type deal. But I feel like
Hmm.
this is going to be a big, high scoring game.
Hmm. Is AJ Green looking more like AJ Green in Arizona?
I mean, he's still a shell of himself. I mean, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, because I feel like
maybe better medical staff.
I mean, I wouldn't doubt that, but
I don't know. Not,
because I feel like a prime AJ Green would give Hopkins a run for his money. Like if you're talking about when AJ was on top of his game, he was pretty much unstoppable. Like
AJ Green good, but DeAndre Hopkins is
he's phenomenal.
like
He's like you're just gonna throw it up and he's always gonna catch
crazy
it.
good.
He's gonna figure out a way to catch it. Like he's crazy good.
Yeah, Green, like I think a lot of his work you didn't see, like if you're watching the game on TV, because he would just be open and catch a pass. Whereas like DeAndre Hopkins, it's like you can always see the defensive back in the picture. You just know that it's like the guy's not there because he's just gonna catch it, right?
Yeah. But do you think it's going to be a
Yeah,
more defensive sided game, or do you think it's going to be pretty high scoring?
I don't have a good feel for the game. Um, I do agree with what you're just saying about like historically, um, like the Bengals with their offense tend to really stress the Ravens secondary, their back end. We always seem, especially with AJ Green, right? AJ Green's like best games usually came against Baltimore. Um, but Baltimore is like a weird version of themselves this year. Their offensive line isn't great. They're using they're all their backs are like,
Backups.
you know, yeah, no, I mean, just they're old, right? I mean, like running backs, you want young running backs, and their running backs
No,
are
I mean by definition they were backups. I mean they were essentially cut from most of their teams because they were backups or they're like third string, but they're veterans, so it's like
well, Mercury was the starter. They just wanted him to take less money, right?
who?
Latavius Murray,
No, he was a backup.
he's the starter
Not in the Saints.
in New Orleans.
No,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Kamara. What are you
Never
talking
mind.
about?
Oh man, I don't know. I
I'll
even
edit
have
that
Kamara
out.
on my
Don't
fantasy.
worry.
Yeah, cut that out. Cut out. As I was saying, yeah, they're all backups. So I'm less worried that they're backups as I am that they're old. They're just old dudes, I mean, usually running backs do not age like wine, right? You don't want a bunch of 10-year-old running backs in your backfield. And their offensive line is kind of banged up.
The truth of the matter is it's Lamar Jackson. It's 100% Lamar Jackson. Like you always got to account for him, and he just makes any other back that much more dynamic because you're always worried about Lamar Jackson. Like it's he's like a very dynamic player, but at the same time, it's like he's going to make mistakes. It's a matter of making the least amount of mistakes. Like I mean, if you just look back at last couple of games, I mean, it's actually kind of similar to Joe Burrow. Like they have these moments where they have really sloppy plays. So like this is where I feel like it's gonna be this really crazy game where it's gonna keep going back and forth. But I also feel like too with Burrow last year, like he had a horrible game against the Ravens, and like I said, I feel like he's that type of person that remembers that type of stuff, and like he wants to prove something. And I just feel like the law of averages too. It's just like the Ravens won 5 in a row, right? They're feeling pretty good about themselves. They had a pretty big blowout. I feel like Joe Burrow, like I said, it's going to be a sloppy game. Like it's not going to be a game where I expect any team to be like completely dominant, or at least I hope not. As far as the Ravens, but like because I definitely don't see the Bengals being dominant all the way through or whatever. I think it's just going to be like I said, it's kind of back and forth, but it has the makings of it just being like a really like I just remember that game when we played the Browns where it's like we combined we scored like 100 points. It's going to feel like one of those games. I just feel like they're going to try to test us in a way we haven't been tested yet. And it's going to be basically trying to play the receivers up straight up, and then I think they're going to try to bring a lot of pressure on Joe Burrow early, and they're going to realize that's not going to work. And then about the time it gets to that point, it's already going to be too late, and it's just going to be to the races, I feel like. So but I at the very least, I want to see us be competitive, and I just want us to have a chance at the end. And just, like, I'm not expecting a perfect game because obviously we haven't played one yet. Like, if we were going to play a perfect game, it should have been last week. So, like, the chances of that happening now is going to be pretty slim. And then just looking forward, it seems like we're catching the teams at the right time, too, because I think the Browns are pretty banged up as well, and we played them in a few weeks.
Yeah, you would like to play them tomorrow, right?
Well, yeah, but at the same time, they're not going to have Hunt because he went on IR, right?
Mayfield.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
I was a little banged up too.
Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. But do you have a score prediction or anything else you want to say about the Ravens?
Well, I just pulled up the gambling line. I can't get out of my head that that Ravens D allowed the Lions to score 17 or 20 points. And I'm looking at the spread. The spread is Ravens minus 6.5.
That's crazy to me.
This is on DraftKings Nation, so we are not gambling prognosticators, but not a lot of people watch this, so I'm not worried. Don't bet a lot of money, but I feel like the line is wrong. Money line Cincinnati plus 225. It looks pretty tasty to me, but the point total is 48, and the Ravens are favored by 6.5. So that means what? That they think the score is going to be like 28-21 Ravens. basically, is what the prediction is.
Yeah.
No. I did the math wrong. 28-20. Yeah. 27-21 ish. 28-20. I don't know if I buy that.
I just don't see it.
I don't see that. I mean, their defense gave up 2 touchdowns ish to the Lions, and we've seen that Lions team. Like I said, the Lions attack is toothless. So, but I do buy the Ravens scoring a few touchdowns, but I'm gonna go Bengals by like a field goal, and I feel like the points are gonna be, maybe 27-24 is what I think it's gonna be.
27-24.
Bengals 20, Ravens 24.
Okay.
All right.
So this one's weird for me because from early on I thought it was going to be like logically I thought it was going to be the Ravens, and I still think logically it's going to be the Ravens because they might be on a higher high. They have the better overall coaching, and I think talent wise we're about equal, but just experience wise and all that they might have the edge. However, I feel like that we have like that. There's something brewing, right? Like I said, I feel like there's something in the air. However, I do believe in jinxes, so I don't want to ruin the Bengals' chances. I feel funny about this one, so I'm going to do something different. I'm actually going to change my prediction from early in the year.
To what?
I'm actually going to say it's going to be a tie, 36-36.
A tie?
36-36 tie. Yes, tie. Because that's me wanting to say we're going to win as much as we want without jinxing it. But I feel pretty good about 36? this. 36 tie.
Wait.
We're due for 36.
A tie. How often does 36
I don't know. It's not supposed to make sense. That's why I'm going with 36-36 tie.
I feel like we need to do the maths on that. How do you score 36 points?
I don't know.
Let's see.
I was going to say 35, but I was like, that's too cliche. So I'm like 36, 30, because it's not going to make sense. I'm telling you.
Okay, I'm Googling 36 points in the NFL.
Well, isn't 5 touchdowns 35? So on 1 touchdown you go for 2, or it could be some weird factor that you miss a few field goals and you have to kick extra points. And you kick whatever. I mean, there's a million. You could have a safety, but I'm gonna stick with it, whether it makes sense or not. I still, like, in a weird way, think there could be a tie, but that's like me saying, like, I think we might actually win this one. But 36-36 tie.
I'm looking at the scoreagami. I don't think 36-36 tie has ever happened. 36-36. I'm at NFL scoreagami.com. Has never happened.
Perfect.
So you heard it here first.
Yeah, and if we get that right, please follow or subscribe.
Yeah, that's
you have to subscribe.
Follow, subscribe. If Josh hits the scoreagami 36-36 tie, you must follow. You must tell your friends.